Hello everyone, this is Nishtha from Nish Online Interior Design, Paint Color Consultation and Home Decor Content Writing. So today I am going to be talking about a specific kind of lighting condition in a space in your home or maybe a room in your home where there is no incoming natural light or very low incoming natural light. So homeowners often wonder whether what are the best paint colors to go in a dark room or in a room that receives no to almost very less incoming natural light. Well, in this video, I'm going to be guiding you through and I'll be talking about my list of 12 best Benjamin Moore paint colors that are quite ideal to be used in a low light room. So before I move ahead, I would first like to address why would that happen. So why would you feel that you have a dark room? So you either have a north facing room or an east facing room because these particular compass directions receive low incoming natural light, or I would say low sunlight as well. The other situation is maybe you have a very small window in your room which makes your room feel very dull and dingy all day long. And the third condition is if your windows face a patio or they're shaded, or if there are huge and large trees that cover your windows, which is why you don't receive a lot of natural light or sunlight. Well, either of these conditions, your room feels dull and dark and you don't feel very motivated in that room, and that is why these paint colors can help brighten up those dull and dingy corners and illuminate your particular spaces all day long. So let's get started. So the first paint color on my list is Benjamin Moore Chantilly Lace. Benjamin Moore Chantilly Lace is a clean and bright whitest paint color that can instantly make your space look larger and brighter. With an LRV of 90.04, this white color is definitely a go-to solution for the ceilings, trims, interior doors and moldings. So if you're dealing with a dark room and a space that receives low incoming natural light, Chantilly Lace is one of the best color options. Now in this specific room, you simply stick to Chantilly lace itself on the ceilings, trims, or maybe if you have shelves or doors as well in a different sheen of course. You might want to go with eggshell for your walls, flat for your ceiling and semi-gloss for your trims. This whitest white paint color will immediately brighten up the space, illuminate those corners, and since it's one of the brightest white paint colors by Benjamin Moore, it is also a great reason why it can make your space feel light, airy and spacious, but at the same time note that it is quite a clean and stark white color. So if you would like to have some depth to your white color, then you must want to follow the following paint colors. Now you can check out my latest pre-packaged Benjamin Moore Chantilly Lace color palette for the whole house here on Etsy as well as my website. Now the next paint color on my list is Benjamin Moore Simply White. Now if you would like to have a clean and bright white paint color in your home but not so stark like Chantilly lace, maybe you want just a tidbit of warmth to your clean and bright paint color to illuminate those dark corners, then Simply White is definitely something to have an eye on. This paint color has an LRV of 89.52, which means that it's quite ideal for your trims and ceilings of the warm toned color palettes as well. Avoid using this paint color with cool tinted hues that may have a blue, green or grey undertone. Especially if you have a north facing room and east facing room, this color can readily add warmth and make the space look brighter as well. You can check out my latest pre-packaged Benjamin Moore Simply White color palette for the whole house here on Etsy as well as my website. Now the next paint color on my list is Benjamin Moore White Dove. Now if you don't want to go with a super clean and bright white paint color and you would rather want to add some amount of softness and depth to your white paint color, and at the same time you don't want to make the space feel dingy and want it to be light, airy and spacious, then Benjamin Moore White Dove can simply do wonders. This color doesn't have a dominating yellow undertone unlike Simply White. It feels quite muted and subdued. With an LRV of 83.16, this color falls on the lighter end of the scale and can equally add a touch of softness and calmness to your dark and dingy rooms. You can check out my latest pre-packaged Benjamin Moore White Dove color palette for the whole house here on Etsy as well as my website. Now the next paint color on my list is Benjamin Moore Cloud Cover. Benjamin Moore Cloud Cover is a soft off-white color with a touch of grey and violet undertones. With an LRV of 80.28, this is quite a light toned feathery paint color that can instantly make a space look larger and airier. Now, especially if you have a low light room which faces the west direction or maybe south direction, then Benjamin Moore Cloud Cover can be the best choice here. You can pair this paint color with Chantilly lace on the ceilings, trims and moldings. And lastly, this paint color is nowhere closer to being yellow, dirty, dingy or creamy or warm. So if you would like to have a slightly neutral tone, taupe based white paint color for your warm rooms that receive very low incoming natural light, then Benjamin Moore Cloud Cover is definitely something to have an eye on. Now you can check out my latest pre-packaged Benjamin Moore Cloud Cover color palette for the whole house here on Etsy as well as my website. Now the next paint color on my list is Benjamin Moore Swiss Coffee. Benjamin Moore Swiss Coffee is a classic off-white color with a wink of green undertones. I'd recommend that you choose this paint color for the south and west facing rooms. Especially in a low light room, this color can instantly brighten the space and illuminate any dull corners. So if you're looking for a soft warm white color that may feel not so muted, Swiss Coffee is something to have an eye on. Now Benjamin Moore Swiss Coffee has an LRV of 81.91, which means that it's just slightly darker than White Dove, again falling on the very light end of the scale. So if you would like to create the slightest contrast of your Swiss Coffee walls with your ceilings and trims, you go with Chantilly lace, and at the same time don't use this paint color if your windows face a large lush lawn or those large trees out there, because the green undertone can become dominant in such situations. Now you can check out my latest pre-packaged Benjamin Moore Swiss Coffee color palette for the whole house here on Etsy as well as my website. Now the next paint color on my list is Benjamin Moore Super White. Benjamin Moore Super White is a clean and crisp white color with the slightest hints of grey. This is also an ideal white color for the ceilings, trims and moldings of a cool tone paint color. Now Benjamin Moore Super White is not as clean and bright as Chantilly lace, but it can be used in your cooler tone color palettes. Now Super White has a touch of grey undertone which can become dominant, especially in your north and east facing rooms, and especially if you have low incoming natural light in a space, this color can become slightly grey. So all you have to do is simply paint the same color on the ceilings and trims and doors and moldings so that the undertone doesn't pop out. At the same time, it has an LRV of 87, which means that it's a super light paint color and clean paint color. At the same time, it's not as sterile as Chantilly lace. So if you're not looking for something super sterile like Chantilly lace, then Super White is also a nice white color choice that you can go with. Now you can check out my latest pre-packaged Benjamin Moore Super White color palette for the whole house here on Etsy as well as my website. Now the next paint color on my list is Benjamin Moore Calm. Now Benjamin Moore Calm is a soft and soothing feathery white paint color that has a hint of violet and lavender undertones. So especially if you're looking to create a calming experience in your room, especially which is a low light room, and you would like to have some sense of depth between your ceilings and trims and your walls, then you go with Benjamin Moore Calm just on the walls and pair it with Chantilly lace on the ceilings, trims and moldings. Now this paint color has an LRV of 75.83, which means that it is considerably falling on the medium end of the white range, not too light, not too dark, but can also brighten the dull corners. So if you're not particularly worried about the undertones, you can use this color in your low light facing as well. Now you can check out my latest pre-packaged Benjamin Moore Calm color palette for the whole house here on Etsy as well as my website. Now the next paint color on my list is Benjamin Moore Pale Oak. Now if you want to go slightly darker than Calm and you would want to have some amount of warmth and some amount of a monochromatic vibe in your home, maybe you don't want to go with whites in your low light rooms and rather want to have a lighter greyish paint color to be painted on the walls, then Benjamin Moore Pale Oak can truly do the wonders. Now Benjamin Moore Pale Oak has a deep warm grey undertone with just a touch of taupe undertones that can feel quite versatile, timeless and sophisticated in any lighting condition. This color has an LRV of 68.64, which means that it's slightly darker than the above mentioned paint color and can be carefully used in a low lighting room. Now you can check out my latest pre-packaged Benjamin Moore Pale Oak color palette for the whole house here on Etsy as well as my website. Now the next paint color on my list is Benjamin Moore Silver Satin. Now Benjamin Moore Silver Satin is a feathery off-white paint color that falls on the medium to slightly darker end of the scale. If you don't want a super clean and bright white paint color and rather you would want to have some depth to the walls and some sense of undertone to the walls, then Silver Satin can truly do wonders. Even if you're looking to create a calming experience, paint your walls in Silver Satin and further pair it with Chantilly lace on the ceiling, trims, interior doors and moldings for the best results. Now this paint color has an LRV of 74.9, which means that it falls on the lighter end of the scale. It's not too light as Chantilly lace. At the same time, it's not a super dark color as well. So especially if you have a low light room which faces your south and west facing rooms in particular, then Silver Satin is definitely something to have an eye on. Now you can check out my latest pre-packaged Benjamin Moore Silver Satin color palette for the whole house here on Etsy as well as my website. Now the next paint color on my list is Benjamin Moore Classic Grey. Now Benjamin Moore Classic Grey is an off-white paint color with considerable warm grey undertones. Now this paint color does not have any sneaky yellow-pink undertone, but under certain lighting conditions it can detect a green undertone. So you have to be slightly careful with this paint color in your low light facing room. Use it only if you have a south and a west facing room with a small window. This paint color can equally brighten up the dull corners, but unlike the clean whites and super white paint colors out there, it will hold some depth to it. So you might need to add some sort of artificial lighting in the room to further feel the beauty of this paint color. Now Benjamin Moore Classic Grey has an LRV of 73.67, which means that it falls on the medium end of the scale. You can pair it with Chantilly lace on the ceiling trims and moldings. And don't forget how timeless and versatile this color will appear if it is further complemented with artificial lighting. Now you can check out my latest pre-packaged Benjamin Moore Classic Grey color palette for the whole house here on Etsy as well as my website. Now if you want to go slightly darker than Silver Satin and Classic Grey, now I know I'm not going to recommend anything which has an LRV of lower than 65, but above that also you might have to add in a few bulbs out there and some artificial lighting so the color feels lively and illuminated and bright. But in this situation, if you want to go slightly darker than Silver Satin and Classic Grey, then you want to consider Wind's Breath by Benjamin Moore, which is equally a warm tone neutral that lacks the yellow, pink, green or blue undertone. It's a classic neutral that can come off just very subtle and soothing in your low light room, but you will have to add some sort of artificial lighting to the room and you can feel the utmost warmth of this paint color. Especially if your low lighting room faces the north and east direction, Wind's Breath is definitely something to have an eye on. You can pair this paint color with Chantilly lace on the ceilings, trims and moldings for the best results. And lastly, this paint color has an LRV of 69.59, which means that it's slightly darker than the above mentioned paint colors. Now you can check out my latest pre-packaged Benjamin Moore Wind's Breath color palette for the whole house here on Etsy as well as my website. And the last paint color on my list is Benjamin Moore Cloud White. Now if you want not such a clean and stark white paint color, but also not a very muted off-white paint color, then you go with Benjamin Moore Cloud White, which has the touch of yellow to it. Now this yellow can be ignored if you paint the same color on the ceilings, trims and moldings, but if you choose to pair this paint color with Chantilly lace, the yellow undertones can become dominant in your low light facing room. Especially if you have a north and east facing room, this clean bright white paint color can come off quite soothing and calming and can illuminate the dull corners. The yellow undertones may not become very dominant, but if it were to be used in a south or a west facing room, the yellow undertones can become dominant. But all in all, if you're looking to warm up your dull corners and your dark room with a warm white, then Cloud White is also a suggestion that you might want to consider. Now this paint color has an LRV of 85.05, which means that it's slightly lighter than Chantilly lace and super white, but also slightly darker than white dove. So what are your thoughts on my list of 12 best Benjamin Moore paint colors for low light rooms? Well, did you like any? Well, do let me know if you have any thoughts or any comments in the question box below. I will definitely reach out to you. Lastly, don't forget to check out my website at www.nishthasadana.com and my Etsy shop, which has tons and tons of these interior and color related packages out there, interior color palettes, exterior color palettes. You'll also find kitchen cabinet colors and front door colors. Lastly, don't forget to give a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, as I'm coming up with these color related videos every Monday. Bye.